Oh, Peter, you're unmuted. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Pretty good. Very impressive drawings. You are phenomenal.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's fun. It's what I do.
Well, thank you for doing it.
Dennis, the Christmas tree is down.
I
Oh,
see that.
you took the words right out of my mouth, Sarah. Gee, I'll have to put that decoration away. I was going to give it to you, but I'll save it for later this year.
Okay.
Nothing left but twigs anyways.
Yep. And there will be needles for months.
What else are we missing? Let's see. What's here?
Who is mom's laptop?
Mom's laptop.
Sorry, it's Anne. We can't change it.
Okay.
In the drawer of the refrigerator in what looks like a wine bar. And you see a blazer in your travel?
Well, I took a lesson today in screen sharing since I've never shared my screen. So I'm not sure if that's how the select board lets people present things or not, but I'm prepared to try and work through it.
Cool.
Hi, Frank.
Hello. Looks like you're in a very dark room, Kathy.
Well, I've got the lights on, but this is my all-purpose room up here. It's got my desktop and a budget book and you name it. Anything selectmen is up here.
It's where the detritus of a career
Yes, and my
resides.
cats are in charge behind me and out of screenshot, I hope.
Okay, so Dennis, I have the meeting started, but I am not recording or on Zoom or on YouTube.
What happened to
I have YouTube running already.
Okay, all right, that's good. And we have 3 board members.
And Jeff just is in the waiting room.
Oh, is he?
Jeff just emailed me for the link, which I'm doing now.
Okay.
I was say I don't see any ceilings.
Oh,
so I
and
guess
there's Kim
Jeff
is in.
here.
Good afternoon.
There she is.
Hi, Kim.
Here. Hi, Kim.
Hello.
There she is.
Very good. Okay. So. All righty, so is the phone number there, is that Jeff? He does not have the link to the Zoom meeting, sorry.
I can email it to him.
I'm doing it right now.
Thank you. Okay, it's 6:02. I'm gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order and excuse me, and we can start taking care of some of the housekeeping items on the beginning. From the beginning of the agenda. So 6:02, calling the meeting to order. And item number 1 is the approval of the treasurer's warrants for March 5 and March 12, 2021. We are open for a motion.
Pam, Jeff's coming in right now.
Okay,
Well,
that's right.
I'll make the motion to approve the payroll warrants of March 5 and March 12, 2021.
Second,
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded by Kathy and Kim to approve the payroll warrants of March 5 and March 12, 2021. Any questions, any discussion? Seeing none, calling for a vote from Kim,
yes.
Kathy,
Yes,
Jeff,
yes,
Sarah,
Yes,
and Pam votes yes. Motion carries 5-0. Accounts payable of March 9 and March 16, 2021. We're open for a motion.
I move that we approve the accounts payable warrants of March 9 and March 16, 2021.
Second,
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded by Kathy and Kim to approve the March 9 and March 16 accounts payable. Excuse me, any questions or discussion from the board? Seeing and hearing none, calling for a vote from Kim,
yes.
Kathy,
Yes,
Jeff,
yes,
Sarah,
yes,
and Pam votes yes. Motion carries 5-0. Approval of the minutes of March 2nd.
I move that we approve the minutes of March 2nd, 2021.
Second,
Okay, I did have a question about on the bottom of page 2, there's comment about the ancient cemetery fence. And it says in there that we had decided to not put up a fence, but actually part of the discussion touched on that, but part of the discussion also touched on seeing what the property looked like without the fence and making a decision at a later date.
yeah, I had that as an edit, as well as, was there a page missing?
that was my comment or question. There seems to be, it ends at page 2, but it doesn't, there must be a page 3.
Yeah, I've got a page 3.
That was not in our, do you have a paper packet or the PDF packet?
I've got the paper packet.
I don't think
Oh.
that made it into the PDF. It stops at
Oh,
page
okay.
2.
Okay, I can scan that for you while you go through your meeting so you can get it. It probably just got stuck in the scanner.
Okay. So, yeah, I do think that that item on, what number is it? 9B on the ancient cemetery, though, it needs to be added that we were also considering other fencing issues too. Because we had not definitively said there would be no fence.
Can we table this motion until after we get the last of the minutes?
You can withdraw your motion in your second.
I withdraw my second.
I'll withdraw the motion.
Okay, we'll table this for later in the meeting. Excuse me.
Do you want to do the minutes of the 9th?
We
Was
can
that
do
all?
the minutes, right, we can do the minutes of March 9. Open for a motion.
I will move that we approve the minutes of March 9, 2021.
Any second?
Second,
Okay, I've got moved and seconded by Kathy and Sarah to approve the minutes of March 9, 2021. And any errors, corrections, or omissions? Yes, Dennis?
Yeah, the clerk's office is not listed on here as being voted on, and we did vote on it.
It's missing on the March 9 minutes?
Yes. So in the list of all of the budgets that we approved, we did approve the clerk's budget, but it's not on here.
Okay, so we need to have that added on to the minutes. Any other errors, omissions, or corrections?
Well, now I don't know. I feel like I need to look at it more closely.
You want to look at it more closely?
Yeah, well, now that I'm looking at, now that he mentioned it, like usually it seems like it goes in alphabetical order, but then it's out of order when you get down to, is it out of order? Hold on, parks, planning, police. Yeah, like SRO is not in, or I guess that's because it's by police. I guess it's fine. I'm fine.
Okay. So do we want to approve these minutes as amended?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, calling for a vote from Kim,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes,
Jeff,
yes,
Sarah,
Yes.
and Pam votes yes. Motion carries 5-0. Minutes are approved as amended.
That page is on its way to the rest of you.
I'm sorry?
Page 3 is on its way to the rest of the board.
Oh, okay.
Previous minutes.
So we can move on to committee appointments while we're waiting for your email to come in with page 3 on it. So we have before us on item number 4 is committee appointments of Sean Jakes.
Sharon,
I'm sorry,
Sharon Jakes.
I thought it was Jacques.
is it Jacques?
Jacques, well, however,
Oh, I don't know. The author was Jakes. So I don't know.
Thinking
I said, there's so many ways you can, I've also heard Jacques. So anyway, Sharon Jacques for Budget Committee, Donald Oyster for Ordinance Review Committee.
I move that we appoint Sharon Jakes, Jacques, however, you want to pronounce her name, to the Budget Committee, and Donald Oyster to the Ordinance Review Committee.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded by Kathy and Kim to appoint Sharon Jakes to Budget Committee, Donald Oyster to Ordinance Review Committee. Any discussion, questions, issues? Seeing none, calling for a vote from Kim,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes,
Jeff,
yes,
Sarah,
Yes.
and Pam votes yes. Motion carries 5-0. And we will ask Sharon for the correct pronunciation of her name because I don't like to mispronounce people. Do the board, have all the board members received page 3 and had a chance to look it over? Do you want
Yes.
to take a minute to read it?
I read it.
I read it.
Okay. So we'll go back in time to item number 2A, and we are open for a motion to approve the minutes of March 2 as amended.
I will move that we approve the minutes of March 2nd, 2021 as amended.
I can't.
Second.
Was that Sarah?
Yep.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded by Kathy and Sarah. And draw an arrow to where this happened in the meeting. Calling for a vote from Kim,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes,
Jeff,
yes,
Sarah,
Yes.
and Pam votes yes. Motion carries 5-0. And we've tabled it to right there. Flipping the page. Public comment, item number 6. Making sure I'm not skipping anything. No, I'm not. Okay, public comment, item number 6. We are at the part of the meeting where anyone who would like to speak on something that is not on the agenda may speak for up to 5 minutes. If it's anything that is not on the agenda and not something that's been brought to the board 5 times already, or even 2 times already. So yes, Ed Polyavarsik.
Good. I really just have a question. Next Monday, there is a public hearing for the solar energy system ordinance. And I spent some time today at the website for the town looking for that proposed ordinance. Could not find it. So I'd really appreciate if someone could tell me or send me a copy of that ordinance before the meeting.
Okay. Ordinance.
Does
The
anyone know
solar
what that
ordinance?
might be?
Jackie can address that.
Yeah, I sent a copy to the office, to the clerk, in case anybody wanted to see it.
Okay.
And also I can send you one. If you
Okay, so
want.
if you would, please.
Okay. Is
Thank
your
you.
address still the same as it used to be?
Email address, yes.
Okay, I'll send it to you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Jackie.
That's all I have, Pam.
Okay, thank you, Ed.
I'll make sure
Anyone
to
else
get
under
it
public
posted.
comment? Seeing none, closing public comment, moving on to number 7, department head or committee chair report. Susan Robson, Waterfront Committee peer vendor permit applications. Susan, did you have anything you wanted to share with us about the applications? I thought I saw her on here somewhere.
Yep, here I am, Susan
Oh,
Robson.
there you are.
Hey, Susan.
Yeah, hi, everybody. I believe we approved 5 applications last week. And with, our recommendations on the second page. And I've been in touch with Kathy about, like that. So I've got copies. And we can answer questions if you have any.
Do members of the board have any questions for Susan on the applications? No? Okay. Motion at the, what's that?
I just said, looks good to me.
Yeah, I thought they were, I didn't see anything new or different. So would that be, you would need a motion from the board to approve these? Yes, okay, so, but they're not listed on here, so we would be opening for a motion to approve Frank Sprague of Sprague's Lobster, the Wisconsin Area Chamber of Commerce, Sal Matari of Main Bay Bowls, doing business as Bay Bowls, Ronald Lehman of Forgotten Recipes.
And
We're
the
open for
Potter
a
Shed.
motion.
Do you have
What's
one
that?
more?
And the
And
Potter
the
shed.
Potter Shed.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't see that in mine. Maybe I had a page stick. Oh, it did stick. Okay, and the Potter Shed. There you go. That's the other one. So we're open for a motion. Would someone like to make that motion?
So moved.
That's the way to do it.
I'll second it. Thank you, Sarah. I was getting ready to try to read my hand scratching here.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded by Sarah and Kathy to approve the aforementioned 5 businesses to the waterfront, to the peer vendor permits. Any discussion, any questions? Seeing none, calling for a vote from Kim,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes,
Jeff,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
and Pam votes yes. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
thank you, Susan, for your hard
Thank you,
work.
Susan.
Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Kathy.
We are up to
Pam, I'm sorry.
7B, department head reports. Does somebody have their phone talking?
No, it's Tim Anderson. I was just saying Dwayne had his hand up. I don't know if he saw that.
Okay. Yeah, Dwayne?
Yeah, I guess I just missed the comment period before you guys voted. I was wondering if you had looked into maybe reducing Frank's deposit, because that money is just sitting there doing nothing for the entire summer. That's a lot of money to just have sitting around for the deposit on the electricity. I didn't know if you guys had looked into reducing that to the same as everybody else.
I don't know. First I've heard of it. We'll look into it. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. Okay. Anyway, let me make a note. That was on what, number 7?
Yeah.
Writing my list. Okay, so we're on 7B, department head monthly reports. Are there any comments or questions on any of the reports from the department heads? Yes, Kim.
I just wanted to say, like, holy cannoli, super wow, for Parks and Recs getting a $15,000 donation. That's awesome. So clearly some very significant support in our community, and cheers to Wiscasset. Thanks, everybody.
Oh, thank,
Anything else from the board?
No, but if I'm quoted in the paper, make sure they get the holy cannoli super wow.
Exactly. That was good.
I just wanted to thank all of the department heads, including Dwayne, of course, because his report is always excellent, but they all are. And I appreciate it and read them through very thoroughly. And a lot of effort goes into all of them.
Yes, good information. Good information from everyone. We are up to item number 8, unfinished business on the high school ad hoc study committee question for the town warrant.
We need a motion to get the discussion started.
Well, you need a motion to place the question on the warrant, and then we can discuss the question, or we can discuss the question first. Usually you make the motion and then you discuss it, but
Yeah, that's what I thought. Well, I move that we place the following question of the June town meeting warrant. Shall the town authorize the selectmen to form an ad hoc committee to study the financial impact of the Wiscasset School Department discontinuing to offer grades 9 through 12 and offer those students tuition at a local school of their choice?
we have a
Second.
second. Who was the second? Was that Jeff?
It is me. Yeah, Jeff.
Okay. Okay. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to place the question on the town warrant. Open for discussion from the Board of Selectmen. Yes, Sarah.
So I'm going to be a firm no on this because of the language. I thought we had talked about having a differently worded in terms of looking at the future of the schools, this is a very negative wording of it. So I have an alternative that I wrote up, but I feel very strongly that it should not, if this is going to happen, it shouldn't be about closing a school and tuitioning folks, sorry, cat interference, and more about the future of the schools, looking at both consolidation, expansion, and status quo.
Okay. Yes, Kathy.
This is not about closing a school. It's merely looking into the financial impact of 9 through 12 of tuitioning them to a school of their choice. It's not about closing the entire middle and closing the school. It's merely an informational process that I think the voters have the right to vote whether that's what they would like to see happen. And just, this is merely to get the information. And hopefully that, you know, if it passes, that's the purpose, I think.
Okay. Kim.
Oh, yeah. Basically, in support of what Kathy has said, I feel like the intent of the motion is not reflected in the wording that is on our agenda. So I would agree with Sarah that we need to change that wording because really because of what Kathy said. I think Kathy really supports the idea of changing the wording, and I agree with that as well. The wording as it stands now is misleading and negative.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So Sarah.
Yeah, I mean, so I say closing a school, I don't necessarily mean the building itself, but when you're talking about grades 9 through 12, like in my head, that is closing a school. So I guess my whole point again is that I think it's really important that if we're looking at the overall question of this, we're looking at all options. It doesn't make sense to me to have a committee that only studies that option. And then like Kim has said in the past, what if there's another school regionally, or let's say Booth Bay all of a sudden decides this is not financially viable, we want to send our kids to Wiscasset, and then all of a sudden we're actually expanding rather than contracting. So I just, whether that's even in the realm of possibility or not is not the point. The point is This is a very negatively worded question. I think it doesn't look good in terms of people moving to this town. It just looks like we're trying to get rid of something. And I think it's more important to be wording something. I know it's just words, but it's really not. It looks better if we are looking towards the future of our schools, whether that be discontinuing grades 9 through 12 or looking at other options or staying the same. So I think it really matters how you word it.
Right, so Sarah, you said you had, I see you, Kim, just a minute. Sarah, you said you had a different wording for the question worked out. What was it you had?
I just put it in the chat. Says, shall the town authorize the selectmen to form an ad hoc committee to study the future of the Wiscasset School Department, including all options for expansion, consolidation, or continuing the status quo?
Well done.
Well, when I read this, no, I should raise my hand.
Okay. Yes, Kathy.
I read the question, and to me, it doesn't sound negative. It merely wants to form a committee to study the financial impact of the school department discontinuing those grades. It's not saying we're going to do it or whatever. It's merely saying this is what we'd like to get, the financial information, and let the voters decide. But I guess it's all a question of interpretation, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. Kim.
Yeah, I think that if we offer a committee up that's going to explore one option, then we close so many doors that we don't even know exist right now. Why wouldn't we use the wording that offered up a committee to explore all of the options? Word on the street is Dresden doesn't like their RSU anymore. Who knows? Maybe we could go back to where we were in 1998 when we made the bed we are in right now. If we only create a committee to close grades 9 through 12 in Wiscasset and tuition those students elsewhere, we shut that door without even checking to see if it's unlocked. Why would we shortchange ourselves? Especially when we have a history of shortchanging ourselves in terms of education over and over and over again since 1998. Like, we have the benefit of the history that we have all learned from. Most of the people sitting here are aware of the many mistakes that we've made in our town regarding education and closing buildings. We should take that knowledge that we've gleaned from history and make a broader suggestion and lay that out in front of our voters. Give them an opportunity to create a committee to look at all of our options, not just one option.
Sarah.
Yeah, I just want to echo that last point in terms of whether you agree with the current wording or not. It is very restrictive in terms of what this committee is looking at. And frankly, I don't think that you really need a committee to look at that question. It's going to take some time, but it's not. I just think it makes sense to broaden the scope of what you're looking at, to look at all possibilities rather than put a warrant article on there for something so narrow.
Okay, Dennis.
So I just would point out that when I drafted this question, I originally made it so that it was broader than it is now. And I was asked to specifically narrow it down to just what's on here. That was the only thing that people that were interested in putting this on the ballot were interested in looking at, not broadening this out any further.
Okay.
Order, I think, Pam, but who besides the chair and the select board create the agenda?
Nobody.
That's your job, Pam. So who told you that, Dennis?
Actually, this was Jeff is the one that requested this to be on the
Absolutely. Yep. I thought narrowing the scope made it more of a directive.
I wasn't part of that discussion. I'm very uncomfortable with that.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like that's the spirit of the conversation we had either.
That's like a select board 2 years ago business. Don't like it.
Okay. So, Our options are we can, now let me see. We've got a motion on the floor that we can vote to place this on the agenda, on the warrant or not, or we can discuss, do we want to change it to a broader scope of inquiry by the committee? I mean, I will tell you that I've heard over and over and over in town that people want to know what it would cost to close the high school. You don't hear a lot about people asking, how can we get more students in town?
Both of
So,
those things could be.
I'm not choosing, let me finish my statement. I'm not choosing sides. I'm just telling you what I hear from the public is
Correct.
that's what they want to know. It doesn't mean that's all they need to know. That's what's on their mind.
Correct.
So let's take a minute and broaden our scope a little bit and see, do we need to look at other options as well? I mean, if you're going to form a committee to look into the school system, just have them look at what would it cost, what would we save if we can outsource high school? What can we gain if we can attract other towns in? You look at each of these options and don't shut the door on any of them. And I think the question that Sarah wrote, I'll look at it again, but I think the question that Sarah wrote would encompass all of that. Expansion would be finding more students to come in. Consolidation would be possibly outsourcing high school, or continuing the status quo would be just leaving it right where we are. So I think that covers it. Yes, Sarah.
I just want to make clear that I 100% agree that people want the answer to this question. I think we should get it.
Yeah.
But again, my point is, why would we make it so restrictive without thinking about all other options? Include, maybe there are also other options for not having, I don't know, other grades or whatever. Like, I don't think that's the only option for consolidation. And there's obviously lots of possible options for expansion or just staying status quo. I don't think it makes, why would you vote on something so narrow when that can be included in what this committee looks like?
Right. Okay. So I think yeah, Kathy.
I think I look at this as kind of step one. I think if we have this, the way it's written at this point, and it does go on the warrant, this is not to say that if they find XYZ, that the classes are going to be eliminated and they're going to have to tuition them out. That's, to me, this is step one in a process, which I think would happen after this information is gathered. And this will tell people, once they find, when they get the information that's asked for, it may be that we don't have to offer them tuition because it's better, they're better off right here in Wiscasset. We don't know that. So I would think I agree with what you were saying as far as down the road, but I would call this like phase one or step one or whatever you want to call it in the beginning of a longer term process.
Okay, Jeff.
Yeah, Pam, I got voted on by the select board to be part of the withdrawal from RSU 12, and it was too, it was too vague. There was too many steps that were involved. It took us well over a year, 6 months just to break it into sections that we each worked on to come up with answers to the questions. So that's why I really think, following up what Catherine said, it's better to be direct in the beginning and then expand later. Because if you start out with a group of committee members and it's not really directed, it's really hard to get anything done.
Okay, so first Kim and then Sarah.
So I would first like to comment that the withdrawal from RSU 12 cost us over $2 million, but that's not what I was going to mention. The reason that happened is because it wasn't well thought out and we didn't look at all of the options. We didn't believe the 279 forms that are printed on the internet for all to read, right? We thought that we would save money and we didn't. I feel though that the minute a motion like this gets made, as leaders in the town, if we vote to put this motion on the warrant, we may all understand. Like Kathy, I know you understand this as phase one. I also would understand it as phase one and exploratory, but that's not how it's going to read in the papers. That's not how it's going to read at the counter at Shaw's. That's not how it's going to read on Facebook. People are going to immediately say, Wiscasset is voting to close the high school. Because you're right. People have wondered for years, ever since we got rid of the Redskin, which I was on the board that did that, people have wondered for years whether we should just shut that high school down. And I think that as leaders in the town, we need to be really careful. If this is an exploratory, if this is step one, then let's use the broader language and let's allow ourselves to have all the doors open, all the options. We don't even know what options are available because we're focused in a tunnel vision on closing the high school. And I'll tell you what, I'm an administrator in Searsport High School, and I'm in a cohort getting my doctorate in educational leadership in the state of Maine. I meet every Monday with 14 other administrators from around the state, and school choice is not a cheap, easy answer. It's a misconception. Look at Ulna, who had to shut it down and grandfather the people who are there. Look up at Thomaston. It cost them so much money. So people don't understand that, people think tuition is just what, they hear it's $11,000 a year. No, it's not. You are required by law to educate every child in your district. Because of that withdrawal agreement with RSU 12, we're also required by law to educate every one of their difficult to place students, not for 7 or 10 years, a misconception, forever. So some of these kids have tuition $60,000 a year, $100,000 a year. I don't exaggerate. I know what I'm talking about. And you know where we educate them right now? In our town. So if we present to the voters some idea that is going to feed this false narrative, like a fantasy that they're going to be able to save money and everyone's going to Lincoln Academy, we are doing a disservice to our duty as selectmen.
Okay, Sarah.
So first to Jeff's point in terms of, I understand the issue with having too broad a scope for a committee. I think that's where it's really important to have a strong chair and to actually have directives from either the town or the select board. And, why not just put this as the first question that you attack? Why not? I just don't feel like, well, the other piece is, I believe, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the initial petition for this mentioned a time period of 18 months. That sound right, Bill? Okay. So to me, that's just wasting time. If you're going to spend 18 months on one issue, then you're going to come back and say, okay, well, either yes, that's what we're going to do, and then we would start the process of doing that or whatever, or no, now we're going to look at other options. So to me, that's just wasting time in terms of, we need to start looking at the future. And to the point of all the missteps that we've had in the past, and I too have been on the school board, we were on the last one before the RSU. The point is, we weren't ever really thinking ahead more than a couple of years. And so I guess for me, part of this is, we know we have this need from a lot of folks in town who want to get the answer to this question. Yes, absolutely. Let's do that as part of this. But also, if we're going to put this group together and have Dennis and Terry and all kinds of others who are helping out, trying to figure out all this stuff, why not make it about the future of the schools so we can actually plan ahead and actually be able to see in the future a bit in terms of what are our options rather than one specific thing.
Okay. Yes, Kathy.
Well, first of all, I give the taxpayers of Wiscasset credit enough to read this and understand it. Number one, it's been their question for years. I agree with Pam. I've had umpteen people over the years ask me the same question. And I still say this should be up to the voters. And whatever happens with this, then we move on. And I don't think it was 18 months to get this done. It was something like 3 months in the original petition. I may be wrong. Dennis can probably correct me. Now, I won't say another word.
3 months was to appoint the board, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, 3 months to appoint the board, 18 months to make a decision, to do a study,
Whatever.
I believe. Okay, so
You want to vote?
anything else? Anything
Yes,
else?
just a question. If we vote this down, could we then make Sarah's motion? Is that possible?
Yes, that's always possible. If a motion doesn't carry, we can always make another motion. Yes, that's the process. Okay, any other discussion? Yes, Sarah.
My last couple sentences is, why would you limit yourself? What is the downside of making this broader about the future of the schools?
Okay. Okay. Excuse me. So the motion on the board is to put the question, shall the town authorize the selectmen to form an ad hoc committee to study the financial impact of the Wiscasset School Department discontinuing to offer grades 9 through 12 and offer those students tuition at a local school of their choice. That was moved by Kathy and Jeff. So I'm going to call a vote on that and we'll see how it goes. Before I do that, I will say I'm very torn on this myself because the question that's being asked here is the only question I've heard. Not being in the school system, not having worked in a school system, I am going to work at opening my mind up a little bit past that and see how it goes. So I think we know how this vote is going to go. So calling for a vote from Kim.
No.
Kathy.
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
Sarah.
No.
And Pam votes no. Motion fails. Motion fails 2-3. So we are open for another motion.
I'll make a motion to place the following question on the June meeting town warrant. Shall the town authorize the selectmen to form an ad hoc committee to study the future of the Wiscasset School Department, including all options for expansion, consolidation, or continuing the status quo?
Second.
Excuse me. Oops, I started writing it wrong. All right, so that's been moved and seconded by Sarah and Kim. And I hope Jackie has the full language of that. You have all the language of that, Jackie?
If I don't have it all, I'll get it on the tape.
Okay, great,
I would
thank
just-
you.
I would just ask Sarah to email it to me so that I have exactly what it is that needs to be on the warrant.
Okay, thank you. All right, it's been
Yeah,
moved
me
and
too.
seconded by Sarah and Kim to place this question on the warrant. Any further discussion? Want to beat the dead horse a little more? Okay, calling for a vote from Kim.
Yes.
Kathy,
No.
Jeff,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Pam votes yes. Motion carries 4-1. We'll move on to number 9, new business. Thank you, everyone. That was a very good discussion and very civil. See, it can be done.
Yeah.
Civility doesn't hurt. So, okay, we are on number 9 for new business licenses. And we have 2 here. Francois McCoy doing business as Marston House and Jean Beatty Flynn doing business as Sheepshead Bay Physical Therapy. We are open for a motion.
I move that we approve the new business licenses for Francois McCoy doing business as Marston House Limited Liability Corporation or Company at 101 Main Street, and Jean Beatty Flynn doing business as Sheepshead Bay Physical Therapy at 35 Water Street.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded by Kathy and Jeff. Any discussion or questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
The woman who is opening Marston House, is she the same woman who was there 2 seasons ago?
Yeah, I believe so. She's the person who bought the business from the Merzinskis.
Okay, I was just
Yep.
curious.
Okay. So calling for a vote from Kim,
Yes,
Kathy,
Yes,
Jeff,
Yes,
Sarah,
Yes.
and Pam votes yes, 5-0, motion carries. 9B, request from the First Congregational Church for a sunrise Easter service at the town pier.
I move that we approve the request from First Congregational Church Sunrise Easter Service at Town Pier.
I second it and hooray.
Yes,
Yes, absolutely. It's been moved and seconded by Kathy and Jeff to approve First Congregational Church sunrise service. Calling for a vote from Kim,
yes,
Kathy,
yes,
Jeff,
Yes,
Sarah,
Abstain. It was my request. Thank you.
and Pam votes yes, 4-0-1 is the count.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Number 9C, Maine Department of Transportation Utility Receivable Agreement.
Mhm.
So anything you want to share with us about this, Dennis?
Nope, this is just the remaining manholes from the Route 1 repair that will need to be finished up on that they didn't get to last year.
Okay,
I
we're
make-
open for motion.
I move that the board authorize the town manager to execute the Maine Department of Transportation Utility Receivable Agreement for federal aid project numbers NHPP-2250, parentheses 900, and NHPP 1889, parentheses 200, and NHPP 2250, parentheses 800, and state WIN 22509.00 and 18892.00 and 22508.00. And you said this is all for 50 manhole covers?
Not even that many.
No wonder the government costs us a fortune.
So Kathy has moved. Who's going to be brave enough to second that?
second,
Thank you, Jeff.
It's been moved and seconded by Kathy and Jeff. Calling for a vote from Kim.
I just had a question.
Oh, okay.
Dennis, is this supposed to all be, I saw the date of June 30, 2022. Does that mean they're gonna be bothering us for 2 more summers?
No, that's just the due date. That's just when we have to make the payment by.
Okay, because it just read that we weren't gonna get an invoice until then.
which is a good thing, Sarah.
Which is good because we don't have to, we'll have that money to work with for the whole year.
Yes, I just didn't want that to mean they were working on manholes for 2 summers.
No,
No.
good question. No.
God, I hope not.
Okay.
Jesus.
Okay,
Thank you.
so calling for a vote. Kim,
yes,
Kathy,
Yes,
Jeff,
Yes,
Sarah,
Yes.
and Pam votes yes, 5-0, motion carries. Item 9D, EMS uncollectible debt of $69,674.88. I am open for a motion.
I make a motion that the board write off the uncollectible debt totaling $69,674.88 and send the accounts to the collection agency.
Kim,
second,
Okay, it's been moved and seconded by Kathy and Jeff. Any discussion, any questions, issues? Seeing none, calling for a vote from Kim,
yes,
Kathy,
Yes,
Jeff,
yes,
Sarah,
Yes.
and Pam votes yes, 5-0, motion carries.
Pam, I'd just like to make a comment on this.
Yes, Dennis.
These are from fiscal 19 and fiscal 20.
Mhm.
So, but they will come out of this year. So when you look at your EMS revenues for this year, this is going to drop down what we figured on.
Okay,
So,
okay.
so you'll know in the future.
All right. So we are now up to item 9E. Excuse me. I am getting a sore throat. I am assuming that all of the board members received the packet of information that was sent to us by Peter Wells on the ancient cemetery improvements. So did everyone receive that?
Yes.
Okay. Dennis, before we get into this discussion, I had a little talk with you earlier today, and you had something to say about how the perpetual care account money is allowed to be used. Do you want to share that with us?
Sure. So just to make sure you guys had good information going into this discussion, I looked at state law and I looked at the town's policy on the perpetual care funds. And under the town's policy, perpetual care funds can only be used for maintenance, mowing, replacing of stones, and things of that nature. Under Title 13 of Maine state law, which is the cemetery laws, under Section 1306, it clearly states that perpetual care funds can only be used for maintenance of cemeteries. Now, having said that, there's no definition of maintenance in the statute, but I think most people commonly think of maintenance as being taking care of something that's already existing, which some of what's in this proposal does not exist. There is a caveat to that, though. If you look at Section 1305 of Chapter 13, it does say that if the town maintains at least two funds, one of which contains money from lot sales, that fund can be used for improvements, which is what I would consider part of what Peter is presenting here. So the fund that has $2 million in it cannot be used for this purpose. But the second fund is where we put the lot sales, has a total of about $130,000 in it. And that could be used, I think, for this purpose.
Right. However, building something that's presented would wipe out probably half to all of this fund.
Yeah, I think that's something Peter would have to address as he's going through this as to what the estimates of each one of those would be.
But Dennis, since we have an existing fence, wouldn't putting up a different fence or replacing it be considered maintenance?
Yes.
Yeah, we can replace the fence. We can replace the fence.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just like the stone entry and archway.
The stone
that would
entry
be.
and the archway and the stairways and the benches, those cannot be purchased with the cemetery fund. That would be taxpayer dollars, probably.
Wouldn't that? Or
Well, unless you want to wipe out the lot, the small account that has the lot payments in it.
Well, what else is that used for?
Nothing. I mean, it's you know,
I
you
don't
have
know.
all of
I
the
don't
lot
know.
goes into that, but it does replenish very slowly. We only put like $600 in it last year.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it is there.
Okay. So we're pretty clear on where the finances lay. I wanted that out front before we had any discussion. Okay. So knowing all of that on where the money is and what can and cannot be used, Peter, you had something to share with us.
Yes, I do. Dennis, hey, Dennis, can I screen share?
Yes, hold on. I'll have to make you a co-host.
Yeah.
If I can find you. Should be all set.
Yeah, it's up there. You're all set, Peter. I could see you. You're in the upper echelon.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the file.
Oh,
So bear with me, please.
okay. Let's see. It's dated. March 8 is your date on it. Starts out with the pictures.
That's- Okay, do we want to go on and do some of the budget discussion while we're waiting for Peter to find his file?
Sure.
Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna move ahead to item, sorry, item 9G on the budget discussion. We had not voted the cemeteries, the public utilities, or the revenues lines on the town warrant yet.
The public utilities was just the question I had, I think, about the hydrants.
Right, so Dennis, you had an answer to Sarah's hydrant question?
I do. So those hydrants are down on Point East. They're not
Mhm.
actually in Mason Station. And so the developer that was going to do Point East had those installed. When the town foreclosed on all that property, they then become town property, and therefore we're responsible for maintaining them, you know, paying the water department to maintain them and make sure they have water pressure and everything that's in there. So,
Okay, so the word private is misleading then.
well, it is now. It wasn't because they were private, but now they're town. So yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So did anyone have any other questions on the public utilities budget?
No.
No? And were there any questions on the revenues, voting the revenues onto the town warrant?
Yes, I have a couple.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Well, no, that's okay. Don't be sorry. Questions are good. It's what makes this whole thing work.
Two things that are sort of related in terms of my question, why I'm questioning. Under code enforcement, the planning board fees shows we're at $6,800 for this year to date, with a budget of only 1,100, and then the proposed is only 1,000. And so I'm just wondering why that is, because I would think we would be high on that again, given all the activity that's going on and people moving here and that sort of thing. So
Yep. So the planning board fees for this year are particularly high because of the solar project going out on the Jones Road. That alone was a $6,000 planning board fee. And I'm just not planning on another solar project to show up in town and pay a $6,000 planning board fee.
okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
And then similarly, although different, it's under waterfront, I think. Yeah, under waterfront, the mooring fees. I was curious both why we're so far down this year. Is that because people pay in the spring? And then why we would have a budget for next year of 2,000 less when it feels like more and more people are getting boats?
So the first part of your question, I believe, is yes. The second part of your question is, I'm just being conservative with our figures this year. I don't know we don't know what will come in, so.
Okay.
Okay. Did you see anything else on revenue, Sarah?
I feel like there was one other one, but those were the two. That might be it. Yeah, I'll flip through again, but you can keep going. I think that's it.
Okay, so let's give, Peter has his desktop shared, so let's let him have the floor, as it were, for a few minutes.
Okay, thanks, Pam. I'll try and be quick, since most of you have seen this. Once again, my name is Peter Wells. I'm one of the principals of Berkshire Design Group in Northampton, Mass. We're landscape architects, civil engineers, and surveyors. I'm a registered landscape architect in the state of Maine, and also a member of MoCA. And MoCA is Maine Old Cemetery Association. It was founded in 1968, and they look after old cemeteries and give references and help for people that need it. We've lived directly across from the cemetery for the past 8 years. We've witnessed its use and also its abuse. Knowing that the existing fence was going to come down this year, I saw an opportunity. So five months ago, I started creating options for a new entryway, along with potential new fencing options to go with it. And prior to developing these, I analyzed the site looking for potentials and constraints. I developed a photographic inventory shown here, looking at potential location for a new entryway, looking at the lack of signage or identification and interpretation the cemetery had, looking at the unidentified and tough entrance that exists there now, as shown on the upper two images. That's where people enter now, and most people that come to visit the cemetery don't even know it's there. There's fallen gravestones throughout, and there are also other methods to enter the cemetery itself that I witnessed while living across the street. With that in mind, I'm going to go through each option quickly, and then I'll answer questions. Option A uses the natural material granite for most of the design elements. The paving is in a circular pattern. There's 18-inch high seat walls. There's circular steps going down to a lower level. There's a grade change from the sidewalk down to the cemetery of about 2.5 feet. Thereby, if you wanted to enter in that area or most areas around the cemetery, you're going to need steps. We also have a steel entry archway, which is typical for historic cemeteries throughout our country. And that identifies the ancient cemetery, including its date of origin. This is the most expensive of the concepts for the entryway. Concept B uses granite.
Peter, when you say it's, excuse me, when you say it's the most expensive, could you give us a ballpark figure?
Concept A would, depending on the materials that you select, depending on how ornate the arch is, depending upon what other elements, it could range from 40 to 46,000.
Thank you.
Option B also uses granite as a main paving pattern. It's in a rectangular pattern with cobblestone edging. This one also intersects the existing sidewalk, which is asphalt. So it really incorporates the existing sidewalk and really pronounces the entryway. We have two circular benches that are in the shape of the entryway itself. There's a metal fence and guardrail walking down 4 granite steps in a circular fashion to the granite landing. There's a historical marker in this concept, similar to what you would see with museum in the streets.
And again, what was the price range on that?
That one I didn't cost out. I didn't because I didn't have time to really cost out all of them. I did the most expensive and the least expensive.
Oh, okay. Okay.
B and C will be between the least and most, and I'll get into that in a minute.
Okay.
Concept C creates a granite entryway with 2 benches that are facing the cemetery itself and also the view of the Sheepscot. The 6-foot wide steps go down to a granite landing. I've incorporated plantings to soften the entrance steps and blend in a little bit nicer to the cemetery itself. Concept D was created just last week. Overall, it's the simplest of the 4 options. It's basically, and this also includes new metal fencing throughout the cemetery itself. The new metal fencing is interrupted with an 8-foot wide entry arch, which would have the name and the year the cemetery was founded. And it would also have 2 granite pillars that would hold up the entry arch. 4 granite steps to a lower landing area with 2 granite benches or slabs, if you will, so people could sit and enjoy the view and or thinking about loved ones. The minimal plantings have been added to soften the steps and the slope from the existing sidewalk down to the lower level. I've included some images of options, slow down, for materials: granite paving, granite steps, both circular and straight, fencing perimeter enclosures include bollards and chains, metal rail, metal fencing, composite wood/vinyl fencing, and stone walls. Some of the metal archways are also shown. These are from neighboring towns with metal arches, and you'll probably recognize a number of them. Some people have asked, why have fencing in the ancient cemetery? And I'm not going to give you the simple answer that people are dying to get in, but there are a number of answers. No fencing. Fencing serves both practical and aesthetic purposes. It defines the area for the deceased. It gives protection for the area itself. It deters vandalism, cut-throughs, and unauthorized users. A fence and entryway is also a sign of respect to the loved ones that are buried there. I feel they deserve a place with a physical definition. Overall, the ancient cemetery, it's an important component of our local tourism industry. It's a special place of respect that would benefit from those proposed improvements. So overall, families have selected this place for their final resting place, and I think we have to honor their choice. So, and as I mentioned in the letter, this cemetery is the oldest one in Wiscasset. It's a outdoor living museum, and I think it justifies spending that type of money on it. Concept D, cost-wise, would probably come in the range of 24,000 to 28,000, depending on how elaborate the archway might be, what type granite we might select, etc. A fence perimeter enclosure, the cheapest would be granite, bollard, and chain. The most expensive would be a natural stone wall. If we were to just go with a post and rail black fence that I showed in the one of the concepts, that would range from $40,000 to $60,000. Those are just some really rough numbers. So at this point, I'd like to open it up for any questions you might have, and hopefully I can come up with some answers.
Okay, so if we can go back to, if we can lose your desktop, I think, because I can't see if people are raising their hand to ask a question. So if you could unshare your desktop, because there they are. Yeah, I can't see if anyone has a question or a comment. Thank you, Peter. That was very informative. So yes, right away, Sarah has a question or a comment. Good.
Thank you, Peter, particularly for the estimates. I know you said the black rail fence piece would probably be in the 40 to 60 range, and you said the bollard and chain would be the cheapest option. Is that what you said?
Yes.
And do you have a sense of what the range is for that one?
I don't offhand.
Okay. But less than 40.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. So where is Dennis? Dennis is down there on the bottom of my screen. So Dennis, the town has already voted for the money to replace the fence. And that was $45,000.
You have 35,000 that was
35.
carried over for the fence that's in the current budget.
Okay, so that's already in there. So was that for another wood fence, or were we looking at a vinyl
No,
wood option?
This was for vinyl.
This was for vinyl, okay.
Can I ask a clarifying question about that?
Go ahead, Kim.
Yeah, is 35 like the new budget we thought of for this year, or is this the one that we raised and appropriated 2 years ago, and then the Historic Preservation Committee denied us a certificate of appropriateness?
That
I thought
is,
that was 46,000.
and you've carried that over for year to year. Hold on, let me double check, but I'm
I
pretty sure.
think the number's in the 40s because I was incensed that we would spend so much money on a fence, and at that time I suggested we also did a fence on the Rumrill Road Cemetery as well. And I suggested, how about no fences? And it was not a popular suggestion, but that was 2 years ago. And I really feel like it was over 40,000, and the one on Rumrill Road was over 50, I believe.
Right. I think it's never wrong to ask the question, why not nothing? I think that's what you do. You're on the Board of Selectmen to look at all the options, not to just keep doing what's always been done. It's responsible is to say, do we do nothing? Do we do extra? Where do we go? So I think that's the right thing to do, is you ask the questions.
The other piece I was wondering about is, do we also need to consider the cost to take it down? Is that already built in to the 35, or?
I believe Public Works is going to take it down, so.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
Public
it's
Works
not-
are taking it down.
Okay.
Put the new one up as a rule.
Okay. So we think it's 35 or we think it's not? I thought it was 45, someone told me, so I'm not sure now.
It's 35 in the budget book, but.
From 2
Is it
years
30?
ago.
I think it was 35 because Ted actually thought he could do it for 28, so.
Oh, all right, I'm sorry.
Okay,
The one
all
on
right.
Rumrill was 45.
Okay, so we have probably $35,000 there for the fence, and that was for the vinyl option, and the cost on that is going to have increased because the cost on everything in construction has increased radically. So you're probably going to want to, when we do get around to replacing the fence, in whatever direction we go, we're going to need more money. So do the members of the board have any questions for Peter on any of the items that he just showed you? Yes, Kathy, oh no, you had something else?
Well, I don't have a question for Peter. I do just want to thank him for his efforts. They were stupendous and given us a lot to think about. And
It's a lot of work.
yes, it is a lot of work. And
It's
then
a
I
lot
do have a question for Dennis.
Okay, you have a question
We
for
were
Dennis?
talking
Go ahead.
about- We were talking about the lot money account, which has approximately $130,000 in it. And that's kind of for the maintenance or something. And but then there's this other fund that we have a couple of $1 million in it. And is that used for maintenance or something else? I missed what was being said.
Sure. The $2 million that's in the perpetual care fund is just for maintenance.
For maintenance. So I
The
would say a fence.
130,000 Yep, the 130,000 in the other one, because that's the account that has a lot of sales in it, can be used for improvements.
Okay.
Right.
And so I would use we would use the perpetual care money for the fence itself,
I would think just.
because that's maintenance. But for anything beyond that would have to come out of the other fund.
Okay. So that would be like, when you want to call it the lot account,
Yes.
just to give it a name, call it the lot
Well,
account?
actually, I think that's the way it's listed on the pacings anyways.
Okay. Yeah, that was my memory, but I was off the board for 6 years, so I'm a little fuzzy on some things.
It's listed as a cemetery lot reserve, so yes.
Okay. So the cemetery lot reserve has about $130,000. That is the lot reserve account, and that can be used for improvements. The $2 million cannot be used for improvements. It can only be used for maintenance. So I don't think this is anything we have to make a decision on tonight. I think we need to just gather information and take some time and look and think about what we want to do. Peter, you have something to add?
Yes, I just have a question. The Woodlawn Cemetery on Rumwell, that got a brand new fence, and that was paid for by maintenance. Why can't we do that at the ancient cemetery?
It's a replacement fence.
We can for the fence.
Yeah.
We can replace the fence. We can't build a walkway and an archway with it.
Okay, understood.
Okay, that would be an improvement, not a replacement.
And the one on Woodlawn was replaced?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, Sarah.
So are we, in terms of action for tonight, so I assume we're going to continue this discussion when we get to the budget item.
Well, we don't know. So that was part of the discussion we had a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about this, is we weren't sure what kind of fence we were going to put up. We weren't sure the money that we already had was going to cover it and whether we were going to need to vote more money for it or not. And we were going to take down the fence this spring and then spend a few months deciding what we want to put there. So I don't know if we need to vote an additional amount tonight, because we don't know what it would cost.
So I guess sort of a question for Dennis. So just talking about the fence, not the archway or any additions. If we, let's say, up to the amount to, I don't know, 40, 45, and then let's say we decide to go a different route or not spend that money that just goes back into the fund, right? Or it just gets carried over?
Correct.
So there's no,
Right. So-
it doesn't cost us anything or cost taxpayers money if we up
No.
that amount.
Correct. So my recommendation for you tonight would be to whatever Peter's high estimate was on a fence, put that money into the budget and vote on it tonight, because it does no harm. It doesn't change your taxes. And if we don't spend it, it goes back. And then any future can be voted on at a later date. But we do need to get the other budget stuff done so we can get
Right,
that.
right. So question for Peter is the dollar amounts that you were giving, those were the amounts that would pay for the entryways, right? That was not the fence included.
No, one, cost estimates for the fence all depends on what type fence you want. The vinyl was costed out at whatever Ted had, 35,000. And obviously, I'm against putting plastic on a historic cemetery like that. If you were to go with a composite fence that looks similar to what's there
freezing
now,
No, it doesn't.
you're looking at probably $65,000 to $70,000. If you're looking
Yeah,
at a metal fence, similar to what I've shown in the options, you're probably looking at between 50 and 60,000.
So Pam, basically, I know you had trouble hearing him because we all did.
Yeah, it kept freezing up on me.
Yep. So when we're looking at this with the HPC and they wanted them to go to the composite fence, that was in the realm of like 75,000. So, we can figure it's probably gone up in the last couple of years anyways.
Right. So my question was the $35,000 for the fence. Where's the, hang on, just let me look at. So here's the question is, there was option A that said $40,000 to $46,000 on this entry. Does that does not include a fence? That is just this entry work.
Just entries, yeah.
Correct.
Right. So that's a lot of money for an entry.
Susan Blagden has had her hand up for quite a while. I just wanted.
Who has?
Susan Blagden.
Yeah, I'll get to Susan in just a minute. I can see her. I'm just trying to get the board's discussion in. Excuse
Dennis,
me.
if we decided we wanted to use funds from the lot fund, is that a separate line we appropriate funds to, or how does that work?
Yeah, because it's coming out of a different fund, so.
Okay, and you said.
That would be a different question.
And we literally don't use that for anything else.
It hasn't been used that I know of.
Okay. I guess I would just throw out there, why wouldn't we at least consider it if it's just sitting there? It's not like it's a contingency fund that goes back to the voters or something.
Oh, it goes back to the voters. We have to ask them to let us spend the money that's there, I think. We don't have to raise it because it's,
right.
Yeah, okay.
But I'm saying if it's not like if we don't use it, people get money back in their pockets.
Right. Kim and then Susan, because Susan has been waiting a long time.
So I know we're not going to make a decision tonight, but I think the drawings are beautiful and the town, makes sense to have a really nice cemetery entryway. So why don't we consider raising the money from that cemetery plot fund for the entryway and then replacing the fence for an amount up to, something that would cover it, like 50 grand, whatever. And then take the summer to decide, like, let's raise the money in June and then we can come back and decide which option we want to take. I don't know.
Okay, thank you. Susan.
Oh, I've got a list. First of all, thanks to Peter for doing all of this really wonderful work and giving us a new view of a very important part of our town. I personally, am opposed to the vinyl for a number of reasons. I think a metal fence is appropriate and is what is mostly used around New England and Maine. I would like to see the simplest kind of entrance, the D, for instance, just because I think it shouldn't be a great big Mount Auburn cemetery entrance. It should be as simple as possible for our simple town. And I think to have benches of whatever kind, actually, I think it would be better to have granite, but is just an incredibly good idea, because then people can go and enjoy that very special place. A question, or just for Kim, I think what you would be doing would be appropriating the money from the cemetery lot fund, not raising it.
Correct.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Correct.
Also, I think that until it's absolutely decided, perhaps leave it as is with the money that we've got as is until we know what we're going to be doing, until we have the, excuse me, until we have the actual costs. And then if necessary, you can come back for a special town meeting. Or as somebody proposed, you can vote to appropriate $70,000 from the lot fund and see where we get. The other thing is, if there's, I have a feeling that there are people in town who would be more than willing to put funds towards this, to donate funds towards the cemetery fence and getting it done right, to add to the town's funds as the Hesper and Loop, their little fund. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Yeah, I have to say, I agree with something that Susan said, is that I don't see the point in appropriating funds now when we can come back for it later. I would say we would choose what we're going to put there then, and then come back to the voters with a real plan and a real number. Yes, Sarah.
I would generally agree with that if it was something where it was costing taxpayer dollars. The reason why I'm pushing so hard for us putting what we might need in there right now is, one, because a special town meeting or another vote does cost money. Might not be much, but it costs money. And more importantly, it makes the decision down to a very small number of people, which I really don't like. You know, we don't have a huge turnout anyway with elections, and you get even smaller with a special town meeting. And so I think because neither appropriating from either of these does not cost anybody any taxpayer dollars, I just think it makes sense to do it now. The other piece is, I think we would be further along in this question if we had our cemetery committee. And I don't remember what somebody said about why we don't have one anymore, but it seems like we should put that back into place yesterday.
Other reasons. Yeah, it would be a good idea to have a cemetery committee again. But
because it feels like these recommendations, like Peter would go and talk to the cemetery committee and come up with a recommendation, and then we would hear that. So
yes, okay. Kathy.
I agree with what Sarah had to say, and I also agree with what Susan Blagden had to say. I think for the fence, I definitely agree with her, and I agree with Sarah, because as she said, we're not asking the taxpayers to raise and appropriate money. We merely are appropriating what we've already got. And the fence is important. We need to know. And Peter has already said that the black metal fence that he showed in one of the pictures, he thought would be around $50,000 to $60,000. Well, we have $35,000 already. So I would recommend that we would say put 50,000 with that, and somehow if we can word it that we won't spend it all if we don't need it. And I don't know, Dennis can figure that out.
Right.
Just what I think we ought to do.
Right. Well, you would be appropriating up to this amount of money, and then you would not need to spend it all. Right. So somebody else had a question. Let me see where Anthony.
Yes, Pam, thank you. I live directly across the street from the cemetery, and as Peter, we're neighbors. I can see all the traffic by it. I would highly, highly, highly recommend that we not pull down the old fence until we are really ready to put up a new one. Because let me tell you what will happen. There's a lot of dog traffic there. They will be running through the cemetery. It will become a poop center, okay? It will not be attractive. And so we have a lot of visitors to that area. We have a lot of rentals in town. You may not notice we have 140 vacation rentals alone, ever mind the bed and breakfasts. And they're all in that area. And people come by all the time, look at that cemetery, walk their dogs, and then it might not have the respect that a Wiscasset resident has for the history of that cemetery. So that's the first comment I want to make. Second comment, I very, very much support a metal fence. If we make a vinyl fence, I've done over 30 home renovations in Maine, and vinyl fences do not function long-term. We are the prettiest village in Maine. We need to think long-term. Vinyl fences will get destroyed by people, by animals, and most importantly, in a bad winter, we are literally 3 feet off the street, Federal Street. That fence, a vinyl fence, will get damaged. No matter how hard our DPW tries, in fact, I think that's a state road 218, we will get damaged. So I would like a more substantial metal fence so we don't incur the damage. And lastly, I like to think about Dennis and his team. We need to think about maintenance. So anything we do should have minimum maintenance. Now, I know it's paid for, but let's not add more work to our DPW with a wood fence or anything that's not going to hold up. Another reason why I love Peter's suggestion on granite. Granite's going to be there for our lifetimes with no maintenance. So anyways, that's what I wanted to say. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Let me remind myself where we are on the agenda here. So we've been talking about the fence at the cemetery. We don't have any, we're not making any decisions on what type of fence or what type of entry, if any, at this point today. So
Terry has her hand up.
yeah, okay, so does anyone else on the board have any other questions for Peter about his presentation? Okay, Terry, what do you have to say?
Very short. The appearance of the town committee stands by to help you take care of the appearance of the cemetery, so that you don't have to have a separate committee for this function, was my thought.
Oh,
just
yeah,
saying.
okay.
Terry, I don't know if you want to take on all the cemeteries in Wiscasset.
There are over 42 of them.
Oh, thank you. Yes, to help you
Thank
with
you.
the ancient cemetery, which is downtown. Thank you for that clarification. Right.
I have one behind my barn. The old Colby Cemetery.
Peter, you had something?
No.
Oh, okay. All righty, so we're going to close this discussion and we're going to be moving. Before I skipped the monthly financials. I don't know how I managed to do that, but we're gonna take a step back and do monthly financials. We had HM Payson statement accounts and the year-to-date expense accounts. So did anyone on the board have any questions or comments on that for Dennis? Seeing none, we're gonna skip right back over to where we're now at. We're back at 9G to finish our discussion on the budget discussions. So we have already covered in part the revenue and the public utilities. We skipped cemeteries until after we could have the discussion on the fence and entries. So what are the wishes of the board on what to do with the cemetery budget? And I'm apologizing, I don't have the cemetery. I don't have the revenue. I don't have the, the budget page right in front of me.
The appropriation's 123,882. So if you're going to add money in for the fence, I would suggest we up that by 50,000 and make it 173,882.
173.
Yeah.
So this is, okay, so that would be putting the cemetery appropriation at 173,882. Being fully aware that just because we are making this money available, we are not saying how we are spending it. No decision has been made in that, so that I don't have someone come chase me down tomorrow and ask me why we already did this. Just because that's what I've been getting from people. Okay, so any questions or comments from the board on the cemetery line for $173,882?
So Dennis, is that adding 50,000 to the contracted line then?
Yes.
Okay. And then, sorry to go slightly back, Peter, the lower end of your options was 24,000, is that right? Higher end was 45?
Right.
Is this,
Closed it.
is this for the fence or for the?
No, sorry,
entry-
for the entryway option.
Entryway options, high end was 46,000, low end was 24.
Okay, thank you.
And like Susan, I think we need a very, if you're gonna put an entrance there, I would vote for a very simple entrance. It's a very simple cemetery. I
Yeah.
think you want something very low key. So that would be $24,000 and and Peter, you did say that the metal rail fence was more than the vinyl. Is that correct?
Slightly more, yes.
Yeah, he said $50,000 to $60,000 for the metal fence,
Yeah.
fencing.
But if we did the Ballard, and chain like we have downtown, that's less expensive, Peter?
Yes, correct. Less expensive, although it does allow people to enter the cemetery quite easily.
So, but we're not choosing a design tonight, right, Pam? We're just gonna.
No, we're not. Just,
Okay.
we're just clarifying what options would fit in this budget.
No, so I was
Okay.
asking that clarifying question to Peter because I'm not sure how others feel about this, but I would be in favor of putting forward appropriating 25 from the lot fund to give us an option there. And then if we decide we want something more than that, or we don't want to do it, fine. But I guess I'm kind of feeling like if we're going to up the number for the fence itself, then why wouldn't we up the number for the entryway rather than
So-
getting the fence done, then saying,
Right.
oh, we want an entryway. Now we have.
But yeah, Sarah, we just increased the number for the cemetery for another $50,000 this year. That's in addition to the 35 you voted previous.
No,
That's for
so
both the fence and.
Because the other 35 is still, has already been approved.
So I'm looking on mine, it says only 18,000 is in contracted services. And Dennis just said upping by 50, that line. So that means 68,000 in that line. And it's got to be two different lines in terms of maintenance fund and lot fund.
It'll have to be two different questions because they're coming
Right.
from two different places.
Right.
So you can vote on the fence tonight and be fine. I can draft you another question for your next selectmen's meeting to do the improvements, which will then give 2 weeks to, or actually almost 3 weeks for you to figure out what you want to do.
Okay.
Well, I'm not gonna make up my mind in 3 weeks on what I want to do with the cemetery, I don't think.
No, or however you want to do it. I mean, Sarah didn't want to go out for an additional town meeting.
Yeah.
So in order for us to be able to finish this warrant up, you would have to have a decision by the 6th. Otherwise, it would have to go out for a special town meeting.
And that doesn't mean we would decide on which option we're doing necessarily, is what I'm trying to say.
Correct.
I want to do what we can to prepare ourselves to move forward with both of these options if we want.
Sure, sure, no, it makes sense. All right, so the $50,000 did not include if we were going to work on an entrance.
Correct.
So then I'm a little confused because we already have $35,000 for a fence and we're adding another $50,000 for a fence, so we're doing $85,000 for a fence.
Yes.
That just covers all your bases. And again, because it's an appropriation, it's not coming out of taxation. So I'd rather have too much than have to go back to the town and ask for more.
But could part of that 85,000 be for the entryway? Because that's how I understood it.
No.
Oh, then.
Okay, so I guess I'm a little confused. Why, if we have 35,000, why does the budget sheet say 18? It's got 35 for last year and 18 for this year.
We have.
Yeah,
the-
last year they appropriated the 35,000 for the fence. That's still sitting there waiting for the board to spend it and build a fence.
But I'm saying it says for our new budget, 18 in that line. So I don't know why.
Hmm.
Give me a second. I'm gonna look on the computer because it looks like maybe you guys didn't get the updated budget sheet. So it
Yeah,
might be
I
good-
have to
it might be a
say,
good thing that you caught
also
this.
conversations without like updated paperwork is less than efficient.
Oh, I get that, but we all make mistakes.
Yeah.
Well, I just didn't like it's not, it should be in our packet, like something to look at.
And I thought Kathy sent those out, emailed those out a couple of weeks ago.
Well, I think there've been a number of changes because we had there were 3 other departments too that we looked at.
When we talk
So-
about revenue, Pam, is that going to be based on the number that the sheet that's in our packet? Or do I need to find another document?
I'm not sure.
Well,
I would
yeah,
heads up if I have to find another document, I'll need like a 5-minute break.
The revenue is all in the book / I assume the online version. It's multiple pages. I never had a one sheet for that.
There's a one sheet in our packet. Is that over?
Yep. There was a one sheet in your packet.
Like, I don't really need to see the detail. I feel like we've been through the numbers. I'm ready to approve them, but if those aren't the numbers, then I want to go back and find the detail.
Right.
I don't.
Right. Well, I'm just confused over voting for $85,000 for a fence. That's a lot of money for a fence.
Up to.
Yeah. Yes,
But I don't-
Peter, you had a comment?
Yes, I think you would all be safe to say that if you appropriated, but you didn't need to spend $80,000 for a fence, and that could come in at $40,000, but we have appropriated that amount just in case, and $40,000 for an entryway in the other fund, you would be safe. You don't have to spend all that money, but you at least have it. And after
Right.
going through the process, we'll see.
Yeah, I thought that was what we were doing, and that makes sense to me, and I'm willing to move forward with that. But if we're doing something different, then it's gonna feel cranky. about it.
Okay.
While Dennis
Dennis
is
is-
doing that, on a separate but related note, what can we do to get the cemetery committee up and running? Is that something we can, like, it's already in our list of supposed to be selectmen committees.
Right, so we can put out feelers and see if we have people who are interested in going on that committee.
Okay. Hi, Peter.
So there was a mistake on that. Sarah, good catch. You guys didn't have an updated one. So the original amount, so the amount that it should have been in the budget is 138,882. If we're looking at 70,000 on the top end for a fence, if you go an additional 35,000, then that puts us right at the 173,882 that I said we should have anyways.
Okay, so that's 882. Okay, and that's, so if we wanted to have another question for possibly an upgrade to the cemetery on an entry, you'll give us something to vote at the next meeting?
I can, yeah.
Okay, all right, so we're going back to selectmen only, please. We are looking at the budget for the cemeteries for $173,882. I'm open for a motion.
I move that we approve appropriate $173,882 for the cemeteries.
Second,
You'll know what to put in there.
I've got Kathy and Sarah. I heard her before Jeff. I don't know why I almost called Jeff Joyce, so who knows?
yeah,
It's that high voice of his, I don't know. Okay, it's been moved and seconded by Kathy and Sarah to approve 173,882 on the town warrant for the Department of Cemeteries. Any further discussion? Please don't.
I'm ready to vote.
Calling for a vote from Kim.
Yes.
And Pam's frozen. Oh, there she
Yeah, I
is.
froze up again. Kathy,
Yes.
Jeff,
yes,
Sarah,
Yes.
and Pam votes yes. That's 5-0. Motion carries. Thank God Almighty. Moving on to public utilities. What are we voting for a number on public utilities?
Is that the 284,930?
No,
No?
284.
public utilities is 317,930.
Oh, that's
How
right.
many?
317,930.
930. Okay, 317,930 in the, so public utilities in the amount of $317,930. We are open for a motion.
I move that we use the amount of $317,930 for public utilities.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded by Sarah and Kathy. Calling for a vote from Kim.
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Jeff,
yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
and Pam votes yes. That's 5-0. Motion carries. Last one on the budget is revenue. What's the total amount, bottom line on revenue?
I have 61,990, but I don't know if that's up to date.
No, that's just for the airport revenues.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think it's gonna take more than that to run the town.
Yes,
I
you're
mean,
right. You're right. God, it's been a long night.
So the total revenues is 2,803,949.
So moved.
All righty. 2,803,949 on revenues. We're open for a motion.
So moved.
Second, for $2,803,949.
So it's been moved and seconded by Kim and Kathy. Excuse me, for the revenues. Calling for a vote. Kim,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Jeff,
No,
Sarah,
Yes.
and Pam votes yes. Motion carries 4-1. Thank goodness. We are now at the town manager's report. Dennis, do you have anything to say?
No, I don't unless somebody has any questions.
Sorry. I have no questions. Well, not for tonight. I'm tired. Okay, is there any other board business?
No, other than thanking everybody.
Yes, I'd like to thank everybody for all the input today, especially Peter. Thank you so much for, this was a lot of work that you did. And I want you to know, we really appreciate you putting all this time and effort into the town on the town's behalf.
You're
Wonderful,
welcome. You're welcome.
wonderful. Thank you very much. So we are open for a motion on adjournment.
So moved.
Before you, I have a question, Charlotte.
Oh, hi, Charlotte.
Hi, Sarah, would you send me this evening the motion that you made for the warrant for the town meeting in regards to the school?
I will, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have, we're working on adjournment. It's been moved by Kathy. Did I have a second?
second,
It's been moved and seconded by Kathy and Jeff. Calling for a vote. Calling for a vote from Kim,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
and Pam votes yes. Meeting is adjourned at 7:48 PM.
Thank you.
Thank you
all.
very much for everyone.
Happy
Good job.
Day.
Good night.
Yes. Happy
Good
St.
night,
Patrick's Day.
everyone. Good work.
Night,